Welcome, everyone. My name is Mary Beth Smith. I'm the Senior Account Executive for CareerScope, and we're happy that you have joined us today as we celebrate CTE Month. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. You should see a notification on your screen that we're recording this session. We'll share it with all of you over the next week, and it will be available on our CareerScope YouTube channel, along with recordings from our past webinars. Please add your name, job title, and organization to the chat as a way for us to meet each other. We will also be launching a few poll questions, which I think you can see on the screen now. So please respond while we're waiting to get started. If you have any questions at any time, please add them to the chat and we'll be sure to address them before the end of the hour. The contact information for our panelists will also be shared at the end, so feel free to reach out with any questions after the webinar. For those of you who may not be familiar with CareerScope, it's an online assessment that measures an individual's interests and aptitudes to recommend careers or training programs where they have the most potential for success. We kicked off our webinar series a year ago because these things are important to us as a company. Our mission is to serve your mission. We are committed to helping our partners achieve their missions and positively impact the individuals they serve. We are focused on inspiring individuals in transition by helping them identify best fit career options, and opportunities as they move forward on their path. We are committed to constantly listening and learning from our partners so that CareerScope can continue to develop impactful solutions. According to the United States Department of Education, there are about 12 million high school and college students enrolled in CTE across the nation. Data shows that 8 years after high school graduation, people who complete CTE programs have higher full-time employment rates and higher median incomes than their non-CTE peers. With the United States facing a shortage of 6.5 million skilled workers over the next decade in key industries, CTE is more relevant now than ever before. So for today, we're going to hear about an overview of innovative CTE programs that prepare students for a wide range of high-wage, high-skill, high-demand careers, case studies of collaboration between CTE programs and industry partners, and suggestions for celebrating and promoting your CTE programs throughout the year. So to get us started, I'd like to ask our panelists to introduce themselves and give us a brief overview of their roles.
I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Katch. Good afternoon. I have over 30 years experience serving the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as an educator, administrator, Pennsylvania State Police Officer, and National Guardsman. Most recently, I was chosen as one of 8 career and technical distinguished school leaders to serve Pennsylvania and to assist the leaders of the 85 career and technical schools throughout the state.
I guess I'm Mary. I can go next. Mary Beth, I can go.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. I didn't see you unmuted. My name is Alex Novakov. I'm the Assistant Director of Workforce Education at the Central Westmoreland Career and Technology Center, about 30 miles east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, also in the Commonwealth, but far away from my other presenters, just so you know, from Michael and Scott. I know we're a pretty big state. As the assistant director, I do supervise all of our student services. So the mental health and counseling, as well as special education, those needs. Our workforce education office, our cooperative education, our community outreach liaison. I also supervise all of our recruitment. That includes students and business relationships and new programming. So that's the kind of a multiple hats there, but the quick summary of my role.
Thank you, Alex.
Hi, my name is Scott Rogers. I'm the administrative director here at York County School of Technology. We are about an hour north of Baltimore and a half hour south of Harrisburg. We're in South Central Pennsylvania. We are a comprehensive career and technical school. We serve 14 school districts. Students come to us. They apply at the end of 8th grade or at the beginning of their 8th grade year to come to us for grades 9 through 12. They get both their academics and enroll in one of 25 in-demand technical careers. We have our own athletic teams, musicals, chorus, all that here. So it's like a magnet school that serves those 14 school districts, around 1,700 students. And so we're very happy about what we do here. It's a very special school. Prior to that, I was the assistant director here for 10 years, and I was formerly a director at a school district with its own CTC, and taught in Maryland as well as in Vermont.
Thanks, Scott.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Long. I work with Alex at Central Westmoreland Career and Technology Center. We are in Westmoreland County. We have 17 different school districts that feed into our building. My job is the Workforce Education Coordinator. I like to describe it like I'm a T-ball tee. I hold the kids' careers up so that they can just smack it out of the park and be ready to go with it. People tend to kind of gloss over when I say I'm a special educator and, you know, all those other things that I do. But so I'm a T-ball tee. So.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, we've got everybody introduced. So first question I'm going to pose is, tell us about how your students are matched with or enrolled in a program, and how early does that process start?
Are you going to call individually, or do you want us to jump in?
Whoever wants to answer first is fine. Alex, you want to go?
Sure. So I like to believe we start as early as kindergarten or before. We've had some outreach programs at our local community libraries. We've invested in what we call a CTE roadshow. So we actually have some SimLog equipment, Z-Space 3D equipment. We have Oculus equipment that we like to bring and start connecting to our community at a very young age in our elementary schools. But the formal process, and Scott kind of laid out, it's different for us. We're a non-comprehensive school. So our students come from sending districts where they spend half their day in their district for academic course classes. And then the other half of what would be electives in their home school is actually concentrated CT in our school. We're a 4-year approved school, but typically the traditional schools send sophomore, junior, senior year. So aside from all the outreach, the typical matching would really happen in that freshman year, where we would go on site, bring our road show, as we call it, do a demonstration for all the students, explain the different programs, the 18 different programs that we offer. And then students scheduled to come for a tour where they spend time in 3 different programs. Another thing, and it's kind of a plug, but I wasn't told to do this, it's just what we do use CareerScope, and we have a lot of success with it. We give it to all of our sending districts. We pay for a license that we share. Sorry, there's an announcement because this is an actual school, and we share, and what we do is we also encourage that to help our sending districts kind of narrow that choice for students. So that's sort of our process, but we do believe as a community entity it begins as soon as we can connect with these students.
Thank you, Alex. Scott, do you do anything different? How does your program enroll and get?
Yes, working with the 14 school districts, we start with 6th grade tours, which is basically a half-day program with our member district middle schools. They come over here in March for a half day and take a walking tour with our students to experience and just check out all 25 technical programs. We also have a rising 7th and 8th grade summer career camp, where students sign up and they'll experience 4 different CTE programs. So you're seeing here as I keep funneling down, and then in the fall of their 8th grade year in October, our teams go out, present to them about the application process to York County School of Technology. Students come to a open house with their parents if they're interested here in November. They apply in November. Applications are due to us in December, and then all the students that have applied, we have 1,150 students who applied for 490 spots for this upcoming school year. They get to tour their top 2 choices of programs just to make sure those are the ones they want. And they also take their academic placement testing, and then they're interviewed as well to go through to make sure they understand the program they're applying for, the career, what their career goals are. And then from that point on, February, we're analyzing, going through that process now, scoring all the applications. And our acceptances go out here March 1st, and then new student orientation is at the beginning of May.
Awesome. That's great. So one of the topics that we wanted to discuss today was also the new innovations that you guys are doing at your schools to give students real work experience, things like that. Alex or Mark, do you want to touch on you had mentioned about your Phoenix manufacturing. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Go ahead, Alex.
I'll introduce it, but Mark, I need you to run with it, okay? So I'll be the T. Right. So we're in Western Pennsylvania, which is typically associated obviously with steel and kind of our rust, is identified as part of the Rust Belt, which is not a positive term, but it is something being part of that old and manufacturing legacy. But we also though are in the hub outside of Carnegie Mellon, of course, and tech innovation. So long story short, our biggest kind of demand around here is manufacturing. I think that we really need to support, and there's so much great opportunity. So we found that we had a hard time with our machine trades program attracting the same number of students as we were, let's say, with welding, electrical technology, other similar pathways. So one thing that we did, and we started in collaboration with our partners, our community, our stakeholders, our business partners, was Phoenix Manufacturing. So we're Phoenix, that's our school logo. Phoenix Manufacturing was a combination of our robotics program and machine trades program to create an advanced manufacturing program. We actually call it robotics engineering and manufacturing. What we do with these partners is they've donated a lot of supplies, a lot of very cool, very expensive CNC machinery. And our students, as they progress through the program, are actually doing real live work for them. So they're actually completing work for companies. And it's a mutual benefit because our company's benefit, of course, is there's that actual work, really simple stuff. We say we're great hole punchers, but very simple processes. So they're getting work done that needs to be done. And they also are helping to build that recruitment pipeline. For our students, it allows them some experience on really fascinating state-of-the-art equipment and doing volumes of work that otherwise wouldn't be possible if we weren't subsidizing it through actually doing work for our community partners. So that's an exciting benefit. And also it allows us to really replicate that manufacturing process from cradle to quality assurance that actually has some stake to it working with them. So Mark actually is in the program quite a bit. Mark, do you want to add some color there to Phoenix Manufacturing and what we're doing?
Sure. So the kids are going to get the actual plans that they need to do, and they're going to produce those plans. Alex kind of undersold the machines. The machines are 5-axis machines. That's cutting edge stuff that's out there right now. A lot of manufacturing facilities are just now moving to those 5-axis machines. So in our area in Westmoreland County, I believe they said there are 5 different carbide plants, which is unique to the country as well. So these kids are going to be able to work on these 5-axis machines, set up the machines themselves, and then they're going to be doing all the quality control. So that all needs to be done. That's all real world stuff that's happening right here in little old Westmoreland County with these wonderful partnerships. I don't think we have not started the production part of it yet, but with the machines are brand new as in within the past month. So everything is getting up and running. The kids are getting, they're really excited to get moving on those machines. I can't wait for that to start happening. But that's part of the exciting thing that's going on here.
To that point, Mark, we should mention the reason why too is the training being provided by these companies. So as an administrator, the cost and burden of cost of not just buying these hundreds of thousands of dollars in machinery, but also getting those skilled servicing and training that we need to operate them. And that's what's ongoing right now. So machines are physically there, a renovated space is there. we're going through the training process. So it is very exciting. Thanks for bringing that up, Mark, because I forgot about the training provided as a huge benefit that we're able to get.
Thank you both very much.
I-
We want to put up a poll.
Mary Beth.
Yes.
Hi, you jumped onto the questions quicker than I could join in.
I'm
So
sorry.
I'd be remiss if I didn't share that to complement what the other presenters are sharing. In question one about how students are matched, the schools that I worked at and where I consult, I encourage that the CTC is the community, right? So they're open 24/7 and to be the center of the community. So it's every single day that students are matched, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention adult learners as well. Our building's open 24/7. We start with, very similar to the other presenters, that we have we say that careers are on the move. So 1st through 5th grade, our instructors go out and do lessons so the students get career artifacts. We hold career exploration 1st through 5th grade, host over 450 students that come to our school. We call it a counselor caravan, since counselors have a big impact on coaching and steering students. So during their in-service, we have the 12 schools or the 16, depending on which county that I was at, and they would come out to the career and technical school for the whole day and sample each program. In addition to that, we have summer career academies, which over 1,200 students from rising 6th through 9th participate in career pathways. And then a lot of those students, we track them who then do enter. But our school services a pre-K, the CTC 10 through 12, and we partnered with a community college. So I like to say that we had them from 3 to 100 plus. And so you're always open. We have open application and open enrollment. So you can enroll anytime versus just at a particular time. On the very next question on what makes it unique, I would say what makes the authentic work experience, the key word there is experience. When you look at Walt Disney, what do they sell you on? The experience. Nothing like it. Customer service, climate, culture. So all that affects the experience. And then it does go to, like Mark and Alex and Scott said, you got to have consistency. A person who is the liaison with business and industry, so they have a continual face to a name and create that partnership versus I worked with Jennifer, but Jennifer's no longer there. Well, we don't have a new Jennifer or et cetera. So it's relationship building and trust. Some of the partnerships that I created on my business partner, Chris, or the schools that I worked at were partnerships with Hunter Alignment. If you're centrally located, Hunter Alignment put over $250,000 of an alignment equipment. They used our building after 3 o'clock and 2 weeks in the summer, but our students, they put all that equipment in our building and our students were allowed to train on it, be utilized on it, get certified on it. So they're on the 21st century, 22nd century skill level. We partnership with Pitt, Ohio in logistics. They have a 4-year apprenticeship program. By working with us, the students could get and start at year 2. And then also with forklift certification as well, they were well on their way to making close to 60 to 80,000. Chick-fil-A, my partner, Chris, created the first Chick-fil-A manager trainee program at his CTC. So it's not who you know, it's who you know, and building those relationships. Hers potato chips, if you ever heard of Hers chips, pretzels, etc. They work outstandingly, very similar to Philadelphia Eagles with students with special needs. So they work in the logistics program and we provide a one-on-one as a student gets well into their training. The one-on-one then backs away. And so the student is totally self-reliant. And then various workforce investment boards and business and industry on which we created their websites and so forth. But there, I answered the 2 questions and one. Thanks for allowing me that hot minute.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I wanted to, that was very valid and extra information that we truly appreciate. I want to take a minute to just remind everybody that the chat is open. If there's anybody that has questions or wants to make a comment, please feel free to go into chat and put that in there. And we have people monitoring the chat. And we're going to put up our second poll. Our second poll is, what are the stereotypes or myth about CT that you want other people to learn about or learn the truth about? So if you guys would just take a second, you all would take a second and answer the poll. We can then use that as part of our call today. And while we're doing that and working on the poll,
Mary Beth, can I add in here?
absolutely.
So even though we do plan out and try to get kids placed in the appropriate programs, there's oftentimes where kids are not happy where they end up. So we did institute a process here to be able for kids to look at and switch around and move into different programs. So CareerScope was part of that process where we're completing the CareerScope, we're matching the interests and the aptitudes. We're going over that with the kids and saying, here are some of the things, here are the different programs that we offer. Would you like to go take a look at some of these other places because this is not working for you? So that's been one of the nice parts of the process for us. So then we'll take them out and we'll have them do what we call an exploratory in the different programs, allow those kids to experience what they see there. When I set those up, I ask the instructors to please make sure that they see the full experience. We're not just marketing the fun, changing a tire, this is how quick it is, but that there is another part of the process. You're up in the classroom for part of the time. So we want kids to get a very real understanding of what's going on in the career and tech centers and the different programs. And then if the student decides that's a good fit, if the two instructors decide that's a good fit, if the IEP team, if that's a student with an IEP, we'll all discuss those things, and then we may move the student over to that other program. So that's been a nice part of the process, and it's added a very real, authentic reason to move somebody and give us some data on why. So.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. So if you all would still think about adding what you think is a myth to CTE programs in the chat, we'll address those as well. I have some already. CTE programs do not line up with high-paying jobs. CTE does not provide a stable pathway for your future. CTE are for male students mostly. CTE are for students who can't make it in traditional high school. Those are very good examples. And I think we're going to hear about how that is definitely a myth in today's conversations. Scott, if I could ask you to draw upon how you've partnered with the industry partner of Harley-Davidson for your program.
Yes, one of the things, both at the high school, we have a high school program and an adult and continuing education program. We market our adult and continuing education program with instructors that teach both at the high school, the secondary level, and the post-secondary level, as we can take over the training for your company, therefore saving you time and money, because you can hire who you want, send them over here to York County School of Technology for whether it's a boot camp or an extended technical program training, technical training program or a course, whatever, we'll take care of that. So by the time they graduate from that boot camp, technical training program or course, they're ready to work on your in the field and on your assembly line. So with Harley-Davidson, as you know, with COVID and the manufacturing lines, and they've had a number of retirees, we need to bring in that new set of welders and manufacturers and they're limited on space. So rather than using their facility, we had it here already with our secondary program. They hire the individuals, they come in here for a month, 8 hours a day, 4 weeks. We teach them everything they need to know, and then they go and work directly onto the assembly line. It should also be noted that Harley-Davidson works with our precision machining program, welding program, as well as our collision repair program, but that's basically because of the painting of the gas tanks and of the bikes. We also train those individuals how to paint those bikes when they come across the line. So and then the precision machining part, we actually train those individuals to go work and because everything on that bike is metal. So whether it's precision machining, welding, or painting, all three factors are done here in partnership with York County School of Technology teachers and trainers.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I knew we talked about it before, but I didn't realize that much detail, Scott. So that's
Yes.
great. A couple more of the I just had a
It's all right.
mental block there. I apologize. A couple more comments from some of the attendees. CTE is only for students who cannot make it in traditional academic setting. I may have read that one. CTE is for all students and support students in their academics. It's academics in action. Kimberly, that is a great comment. Thank you for sharing that. We have a question. How do you match the program entry level assessment scores with industry needs? In other words, how do you ensure the student has the skills needed to be successful in your program? Not just an interest, but cognitive abilities. Also, do you check the employer's entry level jobs to ensure these jobs match the skill levels you are training students to fill?
I'd be happy to talk about some of the things we do. That's sort of the background. I know that, being a public school in Pennsylvania, we and what our process is obviously we have to be very careful with not being discriminatory towards some students based on disability. And I know you're not suggesting that. You're asking a very valid question we struggle with all the time. So our biggest push to our instructors, aside from what you said, is making sure we have lots of valid pathways for our students, so that if a student does have that interest and that desire to show up every day and put in the work, that regardless of cognitive ability, that we are finding a pathway. And that is students who have become art pullers in places and have some very fulfilling jobs, or car detailers, and have really had, so it really is something where we don't use we use, for instance, the CareerScope as a strength-based conversation starter, not a ruling out of any kind of program. And that's just really important to us, that we push our teachers that we have industry recognized credentials that align with pathways in all of our programs. However, that being said, we also do a lot of work with matching with post-secondary, for instance, with articulation agreements or with prerequisites that we know are going to be based off of, let's say, ADA accommodation and not what they may receive in IDEA. So for instance, our police academy in the county dropped its age from 21 to 18 for enrollment. A lot of students enter our protective services program with that desire. So one of the things we did, and Mark, I think, was administering one today, was we would take a student who may have, there's a ninth grade reading level, entry level to enter the police academy, and they use a specific assessment. So we went and bought that assessment. And as part of the programming at a very early age, we'll deliver the assessment here and communicate back with that IEP team or with that home district of, these are the goals. We want to support working toward those goals, but also we want to be very transparent about what that goal is actually going to require. And then again, if that is too significant of a barrier, because we're not comprehensive, so we wouldn't deliver reading intervention, but if that's too significant of a barrier to overcome, we sure like to believe we've also had multiple other pathways that are going to be available and still meet that student's interests, or at least set them up. So I think, but that's something we struggle with. It's easier said. I'm kind of saying it like, yeah, that's what we do. But that is really, I mean, we get it. We understand. We have a lot of kids who like video games, so they want to go to computer information science, not understanding even the slightest idea of that demand that they're getting ready to go into. And so our exploratories are pretty in-depth. The way we look at, and to someone's point earlier about changing programs, we have the same type of restrictions as far as so many semesters to be a completer. So we don't shift in and out by any means. It's usually a one-time shift if it occurs early on, so they can still meet that completer status, because we have the same restrictions. I believe it's the commenter said from Texas. We have the same restrictions. So it's very important that if we don't get it right the first time, we sure as heck better get it right the second time, because yeah, we can't move kids in and out of programs. And Mark, you want to mention Ask Jan real quick, and then I always feel like I talk too much. Sorry. I know
Okay.
I know I'm a panelist, so it's ironic, but I always feel like I talk too much.
I did just put it up in the chat. askjan.org. It's a really good resource for people to go out and be able to look up. You can look it up in disabilities in multiple different ways. You can look it up, according to a diagnosis. You can look it up according to, what the problem situation is. But those are real world ways to be able to get those accommodations from the employers. So it's a really nice way to help. We have been trying to move our school districts into thinking and looking more at Ask Jan when we're working with the SDIs in that portion of the IEP. Because oftentimes we're not going to have somebody there that can read, but we can, use an OCR reader on our phone to be able to help kids understand what the material is in front of them. So we're trying to move our schools from the, the IDEA world into the ADA world. So that's Ask Jan is one of those really good resources.
Thank you both.
I'd also like to add just real quick, Mary Beth, when looking at the questions, how do we ensure entry-level skills or intermediate skills? In Pennsylvania, we're lucky enough when a program's approved, on the program task list itself, you have to say what's beginner, intermediate, and then have a pathway for students to achieve. So if you're in the vet tech program, vet tech is the ultimate complete all tasks, but then there's a kennel technician, there's a front of the office and the logistics. So perhaps case in point, I'll change careers here as well, an auto tech, an advanced auto person, a parts manager, et cetera. The goal is for the student to be an auto mechanic, but if their skills and interests lead them to being a front desk person at or a manager in advanced auto or at a large automotive center in which they're the parts manager, that's still a success. In Pennsylvania as well, with students with special needs, we're lucky enough to have the Pennsylvania Association of Career and Technical Education Special Populations. I'd be, happy to talk with anybody afterwards, but I'm the past president, so it was unsolicited for them. And then as well as how do we make sure that the student skill level, we have career counselors as well. We do use at the Chester County Intermediate, a former school of mine, we did use the CareerScope because very similar to what Mark said, a student might have an interest in A, but the CareerScope says this, this, and this. So if the student finds out after 3-4 months that the program that they chose wasn't for them, we do have a go by to say, well, you tested high and strong in these career pathways. We also utilize the ASVAB pre-test as well, because we want to make sure not only the students are aware of where they tested high, but their parents and the sending school as well. Think of that choice of where they go as setting a table. If one leg is shorter than the other, student wants this, skill sets this, the sending school says this, the CTC says this, and parents say this, you got a wobbly table. So with all stakeholders informed on that student's choice and with that support, that's how you have a successful program pathway. And then lastly, social media is a great way to showcase all the things that we're talking about, whether it's how to get into the CTC, what's the resources that you provide, from adult to pre-K to so forth, and to also showcase your partnerships. Perhaps you only have one person in charge of creating these business and industry partnerships, but by posting it on social media, other businesses and partnerships go, oh, I don't even know that they do that, or they can do that. So that's another way to reach out. And a big phrase that we use at all of them, and you have to believe what you sell, right? So careers have no gender. So fully support, and then use role modeling. If it's a female welder, a female technician, a female law enforcement student, or you have an occupational advisory committee member that's non-traditional for that career pathway, definitely utilize them to show that careers have no gender. Then they can share their experiences with the students as well, so they know that they're not alone.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So what would you say is, to any of you, I guess whoever wants to chime in first, what would you say is as an important first step for employers who have not partnered with CTE programs but want to build their talent pipeline? For example, what about a solar manufacturer or a solar installer, and how do you get those individuals trained?
I'll start off there with
Darn it, Scott.
sorry. In Pennsylvania, as directors and administrators, we're all required to have a local advisory committee. So we should have a member that represents each of the industries or areas that we serve. So with 25 technical programs, I have close to 35 individuals that represent those 25 career and technical pathways. Every single technical program has an occupational advisory committee, which is made up of local employers, employees, the decision makers that say, this is what I need. So we'll highlight Apple Automotive Group here, and Jack Giambalvo here in York County. They're the ones, they sit on our automotive technology, collision repair, occupational advisory committees, and basically say, this is what we need for skills coming out of your program. So a student can transition from high school into our workforce seamlessly. And most of that happens. So the students are on co-op their senior year at those fields. But if you're an employer, reach out to your regional or district career and technical school and see what you can do about getting involved with those advisory committees, because that's how you get connected with that pipeline of students. Our precision machining program has about 20 different employers on there. I can tell you when we have our end of program assessment, which is the NOCTI, for all of our programs, the judges that come in will be offering jobs to those students upon completion. And it's not uncommon for many of our seniors to have 2 to 5 job offers before they graduate high school. And that's for full-time employment after they graduate. We'll graduate close to 400 students. You know, they get their academics here, they get their technical. 25 to 35% are going on to 4-year and 2-year schools. The rest of them are going directly in the workforce, or 10% of them remaining are going into the military in those technical fields.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
To add what Scott's one of the schools that I worked with, and he's a great friend. I would say reach out to your peer-to-peer contacts. Alex and Mark know that Pennsylvania has a large group of current technical schools. So to make those contacts and build those relationships, as I want to just showcase the solar question, because there aren't a lot of solar businesses per se. There's manufacturing thereof. So what I recommend is be creative and take risk. So what I did was I looked and said, who's involved in this at the post-secondary level? Go to their website and then look and see who their business industry partners are. For example, I did see that Mr. Chris Flynn is here, and he's from Penn College of Technology. Case in point, I reached out to him because he has a clean energy center and said, I would love to partner with you on solar. In addition to that, also job experiences for the students and for adults as well. From that, I gleaned that Caterpillar, who now does solar, a Fortune 25 company, I've now connected with them as well. So now if schools want to be involved with solar, you have a company like Caterpillar. There's a lot of great companies out there, but with that, now you have a name and a brand that goes with it, gives you instant credibility for parents and students because they recognize the brand. And then if your school would put solar on your property, let's say you had area for it, they allow your students to apprenticeship as well. So I would say we have to go beyond just what the traditional academic high school is. So with the solar example, the students are going to get advanced credit, articulation agreements with post-secondary, a Fortune 25 company. And what it is, it's almost like you're following a flow chart. And a person like a Mark Long in your building would be the person really, truly, that would be your conduit for it. He's setting up the workforce opportunities for the school. And then the administrators then become friends and partners with the managers and the owners of these companies.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I have a question from Diana. Diana's question is, how do you handle job placement for students who were brought to this country and are undocumented?
And I replied to Diana in a private message, but I know when that happened for us, we referred that family to our congressional offices that are here at the local level. And as far as they worked through a process with them, because, you know, when you have a high school student who wants to work and they're here, there's a process that they go through. I do not know how that turned out, but that's what we did.
Thanks, Scott. Alex or Mark, do you guys have any other?
Scott, I admittedly, Scott has more experience already in that one example than I have had. So I mean, I'm that's something that in our region is not at this point yet, though changing rapidly, but it's not something that has really come about. So I can't speak to that. I apologize.
I mean, there is the experiences within the programs themselves. Like Scott mentioned, open houses is a great way for students to match with enrollment. We also offer, and most of the schools, including Scott, I'm sure Alex and Mark's as well, your restaurant's open to the public. So it wouldn't matter if you were a undocumented or not, you're getting real life work experience, serving, preparing the food there. Your cosmetology is open to serve. Your auto technology programs to serve. In large schools, and I was lucky enough to work at the Chester County Intermediate Unit. So we had 2,100 students, probably 40% were undocumented at our one campus because it's in Kennett Square, where a lot of the migrant or undocumented come from Mexico to work in the mushroom farms. So with that, you can also explain just to the employers themselves, would you take a student? Well, it might not be a paid internship because the student doesn't have any documentation or social security number, but they can certainly do an internship or a job shadow. And then from there at the Chester County Intermediate, there's branches of everything in real life in any program because there's over 5,000 employees. There's an IT department. We have a transportation department. Students can work on other students for that live work experience. And like Scott said, the occupational advisory committee for each program is well aware of the status of the students in the program because of the individual instructors. And then they approach the employer as well, give the information. So that's the best that I could address that one at this time. Hopefully I gave that person who asked a question some samples.
Thank you for that, Mike. You actually answered a question before I even got a chance to answer it. So that's great. We were going to talk about how the schools that offer community outreach and show how they are a benefit to the community. So you kind of did touch on that a little bit, that the restaurant is open to the public. People can go in and get their hair cut, get their nails done, things like that. I assume, do all of your schools do that?
Yes. Well, I don't know about, I'm assuming yours does. Yes, for us.
Yes. I think that's the thing with the 25 technical programs and their occupational advisory committees. There's always those opportunities to showcase those students' talents in the community, whether it is a York Tech Spartan Day of Service, or in our dental assisting program, dentists will actually say, here's our sealant Saturday, and then all of our dental assisting students help out close to 30 dentists who are putting seals on children's teeth throughout the county, and that's just a free service that's done to prevent tooth decay. It's in the same thing with our medical professions program. As vaccinations were being rolled out, these were students in the adult education program as well as high school, just taking care of getting people through the line, filling out the paperwork. And so then when they got to be able to get that vaccine, it was taken care of. But that took a lot of volunteer hours and a lot of people wearing York County School of Technology gear out there. And that highlights who you are and giving back to the community, that you're more than just a taxes supporting you. You're giving back. It's a return on investment, and community members like to see that.
That's fantastic.
We actually have really put that a priority for all of our programs, and some are harder than others, but that community outreach component and our multimedia, whether they're doing t-shirts and engraving for our local school district partners, work with the local VFWs to have a wall that I think our One Construction Trades are doing. I think that's a model that is a win-win, because you can give back to your community, and we'll be on, of course, social media and connecting and introducing ourselves to new people with our logo everywhere, and trying to provide that community outreach. So it's an opportunity for our students to learn, which is so important, but it's also like the best marketing too, because what's important, I think, for us as well is one of the problems we have. One of the I guess it might be one of myth that you go back to, is that we're not everyone's school, right? Then we're a joint consortium. We're an operation of the public school system. So when I talk to parents, that's the first thing I say is, you're a taxpayer. We're your school. We're your community, just like your high school that you might recognize is. So we have to do it in a different way. We don't have athletic teams, for instance, in our school. So we don't have a football team. We don't have a a community connection, but what ways can we bring that and bridge that connection? And that's something that's really important to us. And I think most CTEs, that is such an important part of what they do as being ingrained in their community they serve.
Thank you.
Mary
And
Beth?
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
I thought of a few more, so I put them in the chat.
I saw
Every
that.
one of
Thank
it,
you.
every one of my programs had to do some form of free and or provide a service, every single one. So if you're in law enforcement, they would speak to parents on how to keep your children safe. If your student does go missing, what we would do is we would record the student, we'd have their voice, we'd have the student write a letter as well. So we had a writing sample. I mean, it got pretty in depth. We'd fingerprint the student. So they would have a kit in case their son or daughter this is just a live example, basically stranger danger clinic. But in addition to that, a picture of their child, an audio of their child, etc. We did barbering and cosmetology for veterans, the homeless, community outreach. Habitat for Humanity is carpentry with the 55 and over crowd. We either do updates to their computers, show them how to use the new cell phones beyond just texting and taking a picture. Some of them, really don't know how to retrieve certain items or how to utilize it. We hold trainings for automotive for people that it could be mom and dads. We hosted a night where mom and dads experienced the programs that their son or daughter took. So the mom's like, oh my gosh, my daughter's in automotive. I just learned how to change my oil or change a tire. And then I'm like, well, it goes way beyond that. So they learn that and they appreciate that. And then they become recruiters for you as well. But like everyone else said, if we are in the community and we are taking tax-based dollars, what a great way to give back and show what's happening under your building, under the roof.
Thank you very much. I just want to take a minute because Alex, when we had our pre-webinar chat, you had said a really great phrase. You said, it's a great time to be in CTE. Can you just, and all of you can make a comment, but Alex, since it was what you said in our pre-meeting, could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time. I mean, the first of all, I think, at least my experience, in a very hotly contentious environment, we're pretty apolitical, especially in an education realm. And that's an amazing blessing when I see my colleagues in other districts going through some of the battles that they're going through. So there is kind of that benefit. And we don't take that lightly. Like it's said kind of tongue in cheek, like, hey, we're able, but it allows us, I think, to move freely in a space where everyone who gets an education gets into it for the same reason, right? We love kids. We want to see what's best for kids. But a lot of times barriers get created that are political and are maybe not always in the best interest. And I think in CTE right now, we're not really experiencing that. We're speaking, and I feel we're being listened to. I know our representatives are incredibly engaged. More so, I came from the K-12 traditional school space. I was a special education director and a principal, and I have more connection now with state representatives than ever before. Because of that need they also have, to be honest, with their businesses. So that's an exciting time. We also have the confluence of a student loan crisis bubble that's a reality that a whole generation went, oh, maybe we got it wrong whenever we said you had to do this. And so there's more of a openness than ever was before. And then just the pure technological advancement. Our auto mechanic students, they're computer engineers. They're diagnosing things. They're not some stereotype of covered in grease and some wrench, and kind of like it's all this confluence happening at once. And I think that it's imperative on us to really strike while we have that attention, while we have the funding that's coming in. We could always use more, but I mean, I think that it's a great time to be. That's why I kind of said that it's just a great time to be in CTE, and I know I'm excited every day coming to work, getting to do this.
Thank you very much. I'd like to just say one more thing, and then we're going to open this up to questions. If you have a question, you can raise your hand via Zoom, and we will definitely address it. But Scott, I'm going to ask you to address this one.
Sure.
Quick takeaway you'd like people to remember from our conversation today.
It is the value that students earn, and graduate with from being in that current technical program. You shared about it in the introduction. But the fact that they're walking across the stage with more than just a high school diploma, many of them within CTE programs are earning industry certifications or credentials. They're getting a labor market advantage because the skills that they learn are aligned with in-demand careers that have multiple entry points. So whether it is directly out of high school, out of a technical trade school, an apprenticeship program, a 2-year school, 4-year school, there's multiple different pathways to get to that in-demand career that's going to pay above a family sustaining wage. And that's ultimately what we want, is economic success for all of our own students. We want them to be independent. And that's the big return on investment for career and technical education.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from anybody? Please just remember that to know that you'll be able to get access to this information from the chat, and we will be excuse me, we are going to be running out of time. So I do want to thank all of our panelists for their time and their insights and participating on this today. We're inspired by your commitment to preparing students for meaningful work. And I think we heard a lot about that today, how that's happening. The panelists' email addresses are here on this slide, if you'd like to reach out to any of them with questions. We've also listed some CTE resources that might be helpful to you as well. If you have any questions about CareerScope, or if you have an idea about a future webinar topic for us to hold, please reach out to me. And my contact information is on the previous slide. I want to thank you all for being here today and joining in on our conversation. And it is a great time to be in CTE.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary Beth, and thank you everyone for attending our program today.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. It was fantastic. And please feel free to reach out to any of us.
Echo that. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.